What is the role of a bootloader in the booting process of a computer system?
Hey there! Welcome to today's video, where we'll be diving into the role of a bootloader in the booting process of a computer system. Bootloaders play a crucial role in getting our computers up and running, so let's get started.
What is a bootloader?
Before we dive into its role, let's first understand what a bootloader is. In simple terms, a bootloader is a small program that resides in a computer's firmware or on a separate storage device, such as a hard drive or a flash drive. Its main purpose is to initialize the booting process of the computer system.
The booting process.
Now that we know what a bootloader is, let's take a closer look at the booting process itself. When we power on our computer, a series of events occur to get the system up and running. The booting process typically consists of three main stages: power on, self-test, post. The first stage is the power on, self-test, post. During this stage, the computer's firmware, known as the Basic Input-Output System, BIOS, or the Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, UEFI, performs a series of diagnostic tests to ensure that the hardware components are functioning properly. Bootloader execution. Once the post is completed successfully, the firmware locates and executes the bootloader. This is where the bootloader's role comes into play. The bootloader is responsible for loading and initializing the operating system, OS, on the computer. Operating system initialization. In the final stage, the bootloader transfers control to the loaded operating system, which then takes over the booting process. The operating system initializes various services, loads device drivers, and provides an interface for users to interact with the computer.
The role of a bootloader.
Now that we understand the overall booting process, let's discuss the specific role of a bootloader. The bootloader has several important functions, including hardware initialization. One of the primary tasks of the bootloader is to initialize the hardware components of the computer system. This involves identifying and configuring devices such as the CPU, memory, disk drives, and other peripherals. Loading the operating system. The bootloader is responsible for loading the operating system into the computer's memory. It locates the OS kernel image on the storage device and transfers it to the appropriate memory location, preparing it for execution. Selecting the operating system. In systems with multiple operating systems installed, the bootloader provides a menu or a configuration file that allows the user to select which operating system to boot. This is particularly useful in dual boot or multi-boot setups, where the user can choose between different operating systems during the boot process. Error handling and recovery. The bootloader also performs error handling and recovery tasks. It checks the integrity of the operating system image before loading it and verifies its digital signature, if available. If any errors or issues are detected, the bootloader can take appropriate actions, such as displaying error messages or initiating a recovery process. That wraps up our discussion on the role of a bootloader in the booting process of a computer system. Bootloaders are an essential part of the startup sequence, responsible for hardware initialization, loading the operating system, and providing error handling and recovery capabilities. I hope you found this video informative, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.